Okay, here we go. We can do this. I'm gonna keep a straight face. Okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of Saintly Sidekicks. I have with me Lizzy Stryk, who is one of my favorite people. She is an incredibly hardworking mom. She's a loyal, selfless friend. She's taught me so much over the years and just the way she lives out her faith and the way she treats other people. So I'm very excited for you guys to get to chat with her today. And Lizzy, for the viewers that don't know you very well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So like Madeline said, we've known each other a long time. We met at the University of Dallas, and I am a mom of four, two boys, two girls, and I have the honor of having a wonderful husband who is a stay-at-home dad and homeschools our kids while I work outside the home. So definitely a little bit of a unique twist to my story, and definitely something I didn't see coming, but God has led us down this path, and it's been full of grace and trials and all the wonderful things that come with saying yes to the Lord. So it's a little bit about me.
That's so wonderful. And Lizzy, you and Lance both were baptized Catholic as babies, correct?
Yes. Yes. So my husband was actually a little older. He was about four. So he actually remembers his baptism, which is really kind of special. I know it's always good to get him baptized as soon as possible, but he has memories from his baptism, which is, I think, really unique and really special. But yes, we were both raised Catholic, cradle Catholics, if you will. So
I didn't realize that he was a little bit older. That's really cool. I mean, that would be so interesting to have that memory because, of course, so many of us
Mhm.
don't. But that is really cool. And so, did you grow up? I think I remember you telling me stories as a child of like pretending to be a martyr. So you obviously grew up with with knowledge of the saints.
Yes, yes. That's kind of a weird thing about me is, we weren't really into Disney growing up. We weren't really into some of the more like mainstream type princess things. And so, I mean, I think I played princesses a little bit, but I was always a princess that was going to be martyred. And so it was Uh, I think that also might be a product of growing up with all brothers. I don't know if there's maybe some correlation there of, the princess had to fight too hard to be a princess, so she became a martyr instead. But but the saints have always been very integral to my faith and to my development as a person. So definitely would say that had an impact on me.
I'm so envious of that in a way because I didn't grow up knowing about them, even though I went to Catholic school my whole life. They just didn't either I wasn't paying attention or they didn't tell us about them because I didn't learn about it until like really college. I mean, I did confirmation and so I got like the bare minimum, but I they weren't my friends, they weren't
Mhm.
familiar. And I really feel like everyone that I talk to that is a good, strong Catholic and they have been their whole life and they don't, fall away from the faith, the like common thread there is that they had a knowledge of the saints or that
Mm.
they gained one later. And I really do feel like that keeps you grounded in it even during the hard times because you have this human story to turn to and a human
Mhm.
person to try and be like. Whereas
Mhm.
Jesus and God and Mary, they're so holy and so above us in certain ways. And
Mhm.
just having that to grasp from more of a human standpoint, I love that you got to grow up with that and
Mhm.
that you were praying or that you were playing that you would be a martyr. And that's just it speaks so much to who you are today and all that I know of you. And I'm trying to make that happen in my own children now by just letting
Mhm.
them get to know the saints as much as possible. And I think that is just so special that you got that growing up.
Yeah, no, it definitely is something I'm very grateful for, especially as I've become a mother and seeing how hard it is to raise children. I'm definitely grateful that my mom and my dad were able to instill that in me and give us those examples. And it's funny you say that about the saints kind of giving you something to relate to and kind of grasp in a different kind of way than maybe relating with our Lord. That's actually a big reason why I have such a devotion to Our Lady and kind of the saint sort of that I want to talk about today, Our Lady of Lourdes, because in some of the darkest times in my life when I've been faced with trials and things like that, I've found myself resistant to turn to Jesus. And instead, I find myself turning to Our Lady instead of, she had seven wounds to her heart. Like she was called to all of these great things. I mean, obviously, I know, our salvation is this incredible gift that we were given through the crucifixion. But sometimes I just wonder, Our Lady had to sit there at the foot of the cross and watch it happen. And so even in these like dark times where you feel like God isn't there, or maybe you can't hear his voice as much. I've always found comfort in turning to Our Lady because she was there too. And she's been in those situations. And I don't know, something very comforting about a motherly figure where you're mad at dad, so you go cry to mom. Like that's definitely kind of a key pillar of my my journey, my faith journey so far. And the beautiful, wonderful thing I feel like with Our Lady is that she hears you and she just wraps you with love, and then she rubs your back, and then she brings you right back to our Lord. And so you can never go wrong. I feel like with a devotion to Our Lady. I think Fulton Sheen said, the day that I will not be allowed to enter into heaven because I loved Our Lady too much, I will be a very happy man. And
Mm.
so so I feel like that kind of outlines or kind of gives a little bit of background of my devotion to Our Lady of Lourdes. In a lot of ways, I feel like she chose me. I think we all have that saint or maybe apparition of Our Lady or title of Our Lady that has sort of followed them around and kind of chose them in a really unique way. So growing up, I had this picture of Saint Bernadette and Our Lady of Lourdes, and it was hanging in my closet for whatever reason. That was where my mom had put it on my closet door. And there was always a small statue of Our Lady of Lourdes. Like she's always just kind of been watching me ever since I can remember. That one particular statue has always been in my room ever since I can remember. And I brought it with me to college, and now it's in my room here at my house with my family, my children. And um, kind of, I guess, if I look at my life and all of the things that have happened, I feel like I can attribute so much to her and what I feel like she was making sure happened in my life to where it led me to where I am today. So when I was in high school, I had this really amazing mentor. Won't say her name for privacy purposes, but she was just absolutely wonderful, a amazing woman. She had, I think at the time, 6 kids. She also was a working mom, which I thought was really amazing. And she was just super, super, super holy. And she somehow found time in her busy schedule to invite me on these pilgrimages, which at the time, even growing up in the kind of very Catholic saturated life that I did, I thought a pilgrimage was only something you could do if you were going like out of the country or you were going to like an actual apparition site. And she was like, no, you can do a pilgrimage anywhere. All you have to do is you say a rosary on the way there, you say a rosary when you're there, and you say a rosary on the way back. And then you usually do something along the way that's hard. Like we would not turn on the air conditioner, which in Houston, growing up in Houston, is like, that's a hard sacrifice. But it was like a 10-minute drive. So it was like, you're not going to die. So, so I remember we did quite a few of them. She would make it like maybe like a monthly occurrence where she would pick me up, we would say a rosary, we would go to a specific place that had either a statue of Our Lady or a picture of Our Lady. We would say a rosary, and then we would say a rosary on the way back, and she would take me back to my parents' house. And so I remember very, very distinctly one day she picked me up. She was like, we're going to do a pilgrimage, and this is going to be for your like the intention of your college and for specifically like finances to work out because she knew I was going to put myself through college. She knew that that was kind of a little bit of a question mark in my future of where's this going to work out for. And so she was like, let's go. And she was like, I wanted to take you to I guess there was a shrine of Our Lady of Lourdes. And she's like, but I just found out that the church is closed or there's something going on, so we can't go. So we're just going to go to this. There's a Catholic hospital down the road. And she's like, we're just going to go to that chapel. Our Lady knows what we're trying to do. It'll be fine. So we go, so we go, which I was doing a pilgrimage to a teeny tiny little hospital chapel. Like, this is great. I didn't even know you could do this a couple months ago. And so we go to this chapel, and wouldn't you know, in the corner is a little tiny statue of Our Lady of Lourdes. And she was like, "Oh, perfect. Here she is. She's right here. This is great." So we did our pilgrimage. We came home. Yeah, that was, I think, probably summertime. And I got the letter for my scholarship and tuition aid and all of that from the University of Dallas on the Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes. So when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what I'm supposed to do. I am supposed to go to this college. I'm supposed to go to this place, and she's making it all happen. She's making it all work. And so that really for me was like I felt like I had Our Lady in my corner, that, you know, she was really watching out for me and she really had her hand on me. And it's incredible when I think about how much of my life today, I'm going to try not to cry because I feel like this is going to make me get emotional, but
That's okay. I'm
pretty much
getting emotional too.
every single piece of my life as it is today, from the job that I work to the husband that I have, which by nature then also the children that I have, can be attributed to the fact that I went to the University of Dallas. And I know that I feel like there's just so much that was wrapped up into that she had to have been behind it in some way. So it it gets, you know, even better, I feel like, since I had that devotion to her. My husband and I, we got married on the Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes, which was kind of a funny thing in and of itself. I thought about that, like that thought crossed my mind. And when I realized what day it was the Feast of Saint Bernadette. I was like, so Saint Bernadette was also kind of like in the background too, being like, you need to go get married on this day and you'll figure out why later. Um, ever since then, she's just been kind of the person that I turn to, and just I don't know, just a really, like I said, an incredible, holy, the holiest woman to have in your corner.
What an incredible testimony to that, because I, and that's even a good reminder for me that Mary, I mean, I obviously she's his mother, and I know that in my
Hmm.
head, and I relate as well, like the womanly affection, the womanly touch that
Hmm.
you sometimes need that you can't grasp, from Jesus or God. And I always picture her kind of draping her veil over me whenever I
Hmm.
need like peace and calm, is her veil is coming over my head. But what I really appreciate about your journey with her is especially the pilgrimage to the hospital, that
Hmm.
wasn't part of the original plan, and that I mean, like that's so the way things always go. That it never is
Hmm.
according to plan, but you guys didn't allow that to discourage you. You still continued. And I think that's what
Hmm.
separates, ordinary from extraordinary people, is when those little roadblocks hit, you just you maneuver and you keep going, and you guys did, and
Hmm.
that completed your pilgrimage. You found the little statue. She was obviously waiting for you. She knew you were going to
Hmm.
end up at that hospital. Oh, I have like chills thinking about it. And then the fact that I think you had told me that, but I forgot that you found out about all of that on her feast day.
Yeah.
And isn't it so nice when they give you like these clear signs that
Hmm.
they're really there and it's not all
Hmm.
just in your head? I mean, that's
Hmm.
so you can't ignore something like that. Like on the day of her feast day is when you get the letter that
Yeah.
you're going. I mean, ugh, I mean,
Yes.
so rarely do you get them, but when you do, it's so so nice.
Yeah, and I feel like that really, as I went through the struggles of college, that kind of always stuck in the background of my head of like, you're supposed to be here, and there's
Mhm.
something that you are supposed to do here, and like God needs you here for whatever reason. And then, of course, hindsight is 2020. When I look back on the last 15 years of my life, it's like there's a lot that was tied to that decision that from the people that I spend my time with to the man that I married. And like I said, even though the job that I did, the career path that I ended up on came about because of a UD connection. And I've continued in that same career field for the last golly geez, 10 years, 11 years. It's all been kind of wrapped up into that, and if I'd gone somewhere else, my every single piece of my life would be completely different. So, it's crazy how it's just that one decision, and yet I think God knew that one decision was so important, and that's why he sent his mother to kind of make sure everything worked out. So,
Well, I'm very glad you ended up there because, I mean, even just in my life, you've been a substantial piece in everything. And I'm so many times that we have spent together that I will never forget and that shaped me as a person. And
Mhm.
I want to talk a little bit about how you and I actually went to Lourdes
I was
together.
gonna say, can we talk about our Lord's trip?
And I was just telling my dad because when we went, I still knew very little about her. And I think I was
Mhm.
going because I just wanted to accompany you, and you had such a fervor for it. And it was like what you had planned your whole semester abroad around. And you were just, I'm going to Lourdes. It's happening. And I was like, well, there must be something lovely about this because she's so
Mhm.
excited for it. And I want to go back because I feel like I
Yeah.
would appreciate it so much more now that I actually know a little more about what happened there. But can you talk a
Mhm.
little bit about the site and what happened with Our Lady of Lourdes and Saint Bernadette for people that don't know?
Yeah. Yeah, so Saint Bernadette was a French I want to say peasant, but that seems so derogatory, but
No, it's yeah.
she was very poor. She was very poor, she was very uneducated. Her family really struggled to make ends meet, and she lived in a very, very small, I mean, we saw how small it was, small city called Lourdes, and she didn't have a lot of religious education either. And so when our Lady appeared to her at this grotto, which I found out later too, I think was used in a prior time for like watering pigs. So it was viewed as like unclean and like gross and not a place where you would go and like drink water and all of these things. And so she appeared to Bernadette in this grotto, and Bernadette, of course, was feeling scared and unsure. And she appeared to her several times. I can't remember exactly how many, but she told Bernadette, like, start digging, like, here. She, like, pointed to the ground and she started to dig, and this spring came up. And that spring is like the waters of Lourdes, and there have been countless miracles and things that have been attributed to those kind of healing waters. And so I just remember a big thing for Bernadette was that our Lady, she didn't say much, but she said, I am the Immaculate Conception. And so when Bernadette went to the priest and the officials of the town, she said that, and they were like, she doesn't know what this means. Like she's too uneducated to know what Immaculate Conception means. And so they're like, okay, this must be like real, and Our Lady really must be here. So there's a beautiful church, there's a beautiful grotto. Of course, the grotto is there, and you can. I think they have mass there, and there's also a place where people can go if they want to like be like fully immersed in the healing waters of Lourdes. And so there's also too. I think there's like multiple little like taps that you can get into. There's just like holy water everywhere. It's wonderful. So yes, when we did our semester abroad, it was really important to me that I try to get to Lourdes. And of course, when you look at a map, Lourdes is like nowhere near any of the main cities in France. It is literally out in the country, which I think is part of the beauty and the peace that it brings. Just the gorgeous French countryside. But for two college girls on a limited budget, it was really hard to get to. I think we were traveling, we were there for just a couple of hours, and it took the whole like 2 days to get there and get back. So yeah, I think the trip there was fine. We got on the train and everything was fine. We got to Lourdes at the crack of dawn, which was beautiful to see the sun come up. And I'll definitely never forget walking around Lourdes with you and getting to see the shrine and doing a pilgrimage to Lourdes, which was like probably the highlight of my spiritual life at that point. Just was really incredible, and just to be in that place. And I still remember how peaceful it was. You could tell everyone that lived there, they knew that they were there in service of people that were coming to pray, people that were coming to seek a deeper relationship with our Lord. And so, um, yeah, just it was such a beautiful, peaceful place. And I don't think I'll ever forget it. And I'll spare our viewers the details, but let's just say the trip back was awful, and we missed our train, and we didn't think we were ever going to make it out of there, which we probably in hindsight should have just stayed in Lourdes. But we took a taxi to an airport, and then from the airport we took another taxi, and then we took a bus to a train, and then a train to the to another train, and then we finally ended up back where we were supposed to be. But that it was interesting that one of the most peaceful experiences of that semester then was quickly followed by one of the most stressful times of that semester.
That's how it always goes, it seems.
Yes, yes, definitely. The periods of consolation and then desolation. I just didn't think it would happen within 24 hours of each other.
I do remember the
Ah,
scene where she grew up. Do you remember they had
uh-huh.
her home, which I think was formerly a prison cell?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think
Still
about that.
had the bars on the window, which is like,
Yes.
oh my gosh.
And they had, how many children did they have in there? Like five or,
I a lot. Yeah, it
yeah.
definitely was five or six, I think.
Yeah. I think about that all the time whenever
Mhm.
I'm like worried that I'm not giving my kids enough, or
Mhm.
that our home isn't enough for them, or they don't have enough things. I'm like, Saint Bernadette grew up in a prison cell and Mary
That's
appeared
right.
to her. It's okay.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. I think that, and I think there's a lot of truth to that too. That Our Lady looks for the simple souls, and those that are unhindered by the pressures of the world. I think that definitely, I'm sure, played a part into it, because someone who maybe was higher up on the social chain wouldn't have had the time to be in that place, and wouldn't have had the heart to listen to her, and follow her instructions, and give us this incredible gift that is that amazing place. So I think that's a big thing too.
Absolutely. It's like Juan Diego and Our Lady of Guadalupe. She appeared
Mm-hmm.
to, I mean, he was basically a peasant as well. And so many
Mm-hmm.
of the Marian apparitions, they appear to people like that aren't,
Mm-hmm.
kings or queens or anything
Mm-hmm.
that the world views as substantial. And in the same way, that kind of mirrors what Jesus did. He came into the
Mm-hmm.
world as a baby, not some important official, and he was born in Nazareth, which at the
Mm-hmm.
time, or he was from Nazareth, which at the time was like a very
Mm-hmm.
nothing kind of city. No one great came from there. And I love that there's a consistency with that with his mother as well. Like it just kind of gives you
Mm-hmm.
more affirmation that she is his mother. These apparitions, they're consistent
Mm-hmm.
with what Jesus was representing, which is that the
Mm-hmm.
the small will be elevated and the lowly.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Absolutely.
I love that
Absolutely.
you started out coming to the university because Our Lady brought you there, and then you kind of
Mm-hmm.
come full circle and you actually get to
Mm-hmm.
go to her grotto and experience that. And do you think you'll ever go back, maybe with your kids?
Yeah, I hope so. My in-laws actually just did a trip over there, and just listening to them talk about it, it just made me ache. It's like I want to go back so bad, and just be able to be there for more than 6 hours would be great. Uh, but just to be able to soak it in and just to see and feel the presence of Our Lady. So yeah, that's definitely, I think, a pipe dream at this point with and I don't know about the kids. That would definitely be something we'd have to wait till they're a little bit older to talk about, but there'd definitely be it's definitely a goal for sure to get back there. I've always said if I could live anywhere in the world, I would want to live in Lourdes because it's just beautiful and peaceful, and just to have that connection so close, I think would be amazing. But we'll see. In the meantime, I'll be okay. With I still have some Lord's water left over from our trip, so I found some. I was at my parents' house a couple weeks ago, and I don't know, my mom was like cleaning something, and she found it, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was like finding gold. I felt like, so I was super happy to have that, and then, got other holy water that other people have given me. But there's something about the one that we got, like, it's very special. So that'll tide me over in the meantime until I can get back over there.
And I've never asked you this, but with your wedding anniversary being on that feast day, do you guys kind of incorporate that into what you do when you celebrate your anniversary?
Yeah, so in a perfect world, and if everything is going smoothly, which of course, sometimes some years it's good, some years it's not, just depends on what all is going on. But we actually did a consecration to Mary with when we were preparing for our wedding. And so when we were doing in our wedding, when we were giving the rose to Mary, we were actually also saying the consecration prayer, because you're supposed to do it to end on a Marian feast day. So I was like, well, this is perfect. Um, so we do the Totus Tuus Marian consecration, the JP2 version, which I feel like is it's really good because, of course, it's JP2, so he's got lots of really good spirituality in it, but it's very accessible too. I've done the St. Louis de Montfort one, and I mean, that guy's intense. Like, you want to talk about and it's great. It's beautiful and it's wonderful, but sometimes, our Lord meets you where you are. And so if you need something that's a little bit more accessible, I think that's a good thing about the Totus Tuus Marian consecration. And so we have the date marked on our calendar every year that we need to start it. And ideally we would renew that consecration to Our Lady every year on our anniversary. Like I said, in a perfect world, we would go to mass before we go out to dinner to celebrate, and we would be able to renew that. It's some years that happens, some years it doesn't. It just kind of depends on what all is going on in our lives and how many children we have in the newborn phase, kind of a situation. But I highly recommend it for anyone that is looking for a way to get closer to Our Lady. The consecration to Mary is just a really wonderful spiritual gift that you can use to kind of prepare your heart to be a little bit closer with her. And like I said at the beginning, you can never love Our Lady too much because she'll always bring you back to God.
Thank you for that. I love placing emphasis on that Mary is always a path to him and never away
Mm-hmm.
from him. So if you're growing closer to Mary, you're growing closer to the Lord as well. It happens
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously, I think. And I think
Mm-hmm.
of my mother's heart that if anyone were growing closer to me, they would at the same time grow closer to my children because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
unit with them and
Mm-hmm.
I love them so much. So love for me would just spill over into that. It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
our friendship, when you're good to me and you're loving to me, you're filling my cup up and I'm able to give that back to my
Mm-hmm.
children. And I do think
Mm-hmm.
we can love Christ and God through Mary in a way that doesn't take away from either relationship. It just gives to both. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much for that testimony to that. And again, I think you as a person and the way that you live out your life and what a like even you were saying some wedding anniversaries you're not able to go to mass, but you guys have that foundation from the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
this reminder that that's what your marriage started on, and
Hmm.
to bring yourself back to that every wedding anniversary is just incredible, an incredible gift that you gave to both of you because that was your choice and the two of you
Hmm.
organizing that together. It wasn't just like, oh, look, it fell on that day. So cool. I mean, you really were intentional about that. And I remember at your wedding, you guys even had everyone that was there. You gave them like a piece of paper with that novena and asked them to pray for you specifically. I mean, wonderful, beautiful stuff that just sets you guys up for success in ways that
Hmm.
no earthly thing ever could. So I'm just
Hmm. Absolutely.
continuously admiring you, and I'm so grateful that you made the time to come on here because I really think there's such a light in you, and everything that you said about your journey with Mary is just such a comfort and such a reminder that even when we do the little small things like a pilgrimage to a hospital instead of what we originally planned,
Hmm.
that God works through that, and that when he sees us continuing on the path that we started on, that he's going to continue and hold our hand even when we don't recognize it. So thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks so much for letting me have a platform to be able to share my story. I think that's really wonderful.
And hopefully we'll get you back on here. That would be fun. We can do another one.
Yes, I've got lots of saints. My husband was asking me, which saint are you going to talk about? And I listed off like, well, maybe this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. So I got lots more to talk about.
It's so funny because it's so wonderful because so many people had that problem when I asked them about this. They're like, I can't pick one. Can I talk about more than
Mhm.
one? And I was like, how about we limit it to two so that we're not here for like 4 hours. But yeah, I'll have people keep coming on and we'll just chip away at the list
Yes,
of saints that everyone has. It's such a wonderful problem to have.
yes, I agree.